This is Joanne with the One Authentic You. In my last video, one of my videos, I promised I was going to share my story, my journey with spiritual giftings. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to give you a little bit of insight to who I am and what I'm about, part of what I'm about. My very first experience with the spirit realm was I was 3 years old. We had lived in this, it was an old schoolhouse that had been converted into apartments. It was a beautiful old building. We had lived upstairs in the back. And I remember we had a big kitchen, at least big definition of a 3-year-old. And my mom was doing dishes, and the sink was here, and back here was a wall in the big kitchen. And I was on a riding toy. And I remember I was getting ready to circle around over to the other side of the wall. All of a sudden I heard, "Stay here. A rat's going to come out of that little hole." And I remember thinking, what? Like 2 seconds after I heard it, that's exactly what happened. A rat came out of this little hole. My mother grabbed the broom and started chasing around. I remember sitting there thinking, who told me that? How did I know that? That was to be the beginning of a lot of things for me. When I got older, I used to feel spirits in my room at night. I was absolutely terrified. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know why I was picking up on this energy, but I was. And I would try to tell my parents what was happening. They thought I was having dreams. I was having nightmares. But it went on, and I just became more terrified. I wasn't sleeping at night. I had a rough time at school. I got bullied and picked on a lot. So I wasn't getting a lot of rest either way. Finally, my parents ended up taking me to a psychiatrist because they really were convinced that there was something wrong with me. They ran tests, didn't find anything. And the doctor tried to put me on medication, which I absolutely refused to take. I stopped talking about what was happening to me because I didn't like what I felt from this psychiatrist. It was like I knew I was in danger. I knew that this was a chemical trap. As soon as the drugs came out, intuitively I knew, even at that age when I shouldn't have known anything about drugs, I knew it was a chemical trap. So I just stopped talking about it. My parents said, "Oh, how are you doing? Blah, blah." I'm fine. I just made it sound like it all went away, but it didn't. It didn't go away. It got worse, if anything. I remember during the day, I had a cedar toy box, chest box I used to put all my treasures in. And I'd go up to my bedroom, to the top of the stairs. I'd sit down near my cedar box and I would be looking for something. All of a sudden, I'd feel somebody behind me. And I'd turn around to see who it was. And there was nobody there, but I could see him. I could see a tall man wearing glasses. And he was an older man. I could see him here. And I remember thinking, what the hell's wrong with me? What's going on? So my room was a scary place for me for a long, long time. And I hated nighttime. Oh my God. I hated nighttime. Okay, so this went on for a while. I experienced other things along the way. I would know things. I knew sometimes when something was going to happen. I even knew when people were going to die. That was really uncomfortable. Because at first I thought it was just me, but then it started happening. What I would know started happening. And I went, oh God, what is this? It wasn't until I got involved with religion in my early 20s that I started to understand spiritual giftings. Even though the church, I'm no longer in religion, I still study the wisdom of the ages. I knew it was more than what I was seeing and learning in the church itself. This was going beyond. And then one day, I was watching what's called a Psychic Detective, and my jaw dropped. I'm like, oh my God, I can do that. That's when I began to realize that what was happening to me wasn't evil, it wasn't bad, it was a gift. It was a gift from the heavens, from God, the Creator, whatever word you're comfortable with, the universe, which all were right. And I started to embrace it more. And I started to really open up, to the people that passed away. I realized there came a point when I realized, okay, I have to help them. They're there, they're real. It's kind of like the people who see Bigfoot. They know what they saw. They know it's real. They know there's no way around it. It's the same thing when you see something. And I have physically seen apparitions. I've seen people. It's not the norm for me. I mostly can feel them and know, but there are times when I do see them. So, okay, I got this gift. It was given to me for a reason, and now it's my responsibility to use it. So that's what I started doing. I started communicating with people. George. I'm going to share the story of George. George was a spirit that I used to see when I would sit at my cedar box, and he'd be towered over me. When my husband and our family moved here to South Carolina, I encountered George, and I learned a whole lot about spiritual things that I did not know. But I'm going to save that for another video, which is I'm probably going to do now. Talk to you later. See you in a minute.